Do you know that we're more similar to NPCs in video games than many of us actually think we are? And what I'm talking about is more specifically, there's a part of our mind that works very similar to an NPC. So let's go into how this part of our mind works. I'm talking about the subconscious part of our mind. And the similarities between the two is that both an NPC and both your subconscious mind run off programs. And really, what are these programs? Well, it's data. It's information that in the NPC's case has been programmed by the developer of the game to take certain actions and do certain things. Have different trigger points based on what happens in the game. They'll do something else, right? Now, in our world, in the real world, within our subconscious minds, the way it gets programmed is it's constantly scanning the environment at like 11 million pieces of information per second. So it is picking up on everything, right? It's picking up on all the things that we're not picking up on consciously. Where is it coming from? It's coming from the TV shows, the movies, the video games, the books, the songs, your teachers, your friends, your parents, your coworkers, right? Whatever it may be, whoever's in your life, whoever you're seeing, the celebrities you watch, the doctors, all that stuff. It's all taking all that information in. When you're driving down the road, it's picking up information all along the road. The billboard, the advertisements, right? It's picking up all that information and it's collecting it and storing it. And really what it's trying to determine is what's the safest action for you to take to fit in with society. Because it's learned over thousands of years that when we're grouped together, when we're grouped and you're part of a group, your chances of survival increase by a lot. Now, I do want you to know that this part of your mind, the subconscious mind, is very illogical. So things that we consciously would be like, oh, that's a bad thing. This is a good thing, that's a bad thing. This part of our mind doesn't think that way. It just thinks, what's the most familiar in our society? Okay, then if everyone else is doing it, it must be safe. This is the best way to fit in. That's how we're going to fit in. And so that's why so many of us are actually drawn to things that we know are terrible for us. The junk food, the fast food, McDonald's, Burger King, Sonic, all that garbage. The Doritos, the Mountain Dew. We all know this shit, this crap is garbage, right? No one should be eating it because it's terrible for you. And there are better alternatives if you want to drink something tasty or have something good, right? At the end of the day, no one should be drinking that garbage. But we're all doing it because we see everyone else doing it. We see it on the commercials. We see it advertisement. We see lines in the fast food. We see it people's grocery carts filled up with all that garbage. So we are going to be more likely to do it. And these programs that our mind develops, that's the same thing as habits, right? That's why habits are really hard to break, because you essentially have to break that programming that your mind has gone through. So how would we break programming? Well, the cool thing that your mind works exactly like a river. Meaning the water is always going to go down the path of least resistance, and your thoughts, your brain, is going to go down the path of least resistance. For your mind, the path of least resistance is going to be the most familiar path. So what that means is, every time you have one thought connected to another thought, that's one brain neuron to another brain neuron, it creates a pathway, and that gets reinforced. So that's why the familiarity is really important part of this. It's because every time that gets reinforced, it's more familiar in your mind, and that brain neuron, it becomes an easier path for your mind to go down. Likely, so that means you're going to go down that path, right? Unless you create resistance and open up a new path and make that the path of least resistance. So to actually achieve this, it requires a couple things. One, you need to cut out the old programming messages that were leading you down that path before. Now, this is easy in some aspects and hard in other aspects, right? Some ways you can't change what your environment is around. You can't change what's on the billboard. You can't change what advertisements there are. You can't change, what people say. But what you can change is where you go, who you see, what you listen to, what you read. And if you can just change that, that's going to dramatically change your life, right? Once you start to cut out those negative things or start to replace them with something better, that's when you start to create that resistance. So essentially, like from the analogy of a river, right? You're going to start building some like a dam, right? So the water stops flowing in its normal path. So essentially what you're doing is creating that dam as you're cutting those things out and adding new things in. And then you're opening up a new path by listening to new things that are going to help you reprogram your mind to go to something else. So I used to watch like the Superman show and, you know, like the Flash and like all those kind of shows. And what I noticed is a lot of times they'd go do this mission, they go do all this hard stuff, and they come back and reward themselves with some straight garbage food, some big belly burger or something, right? Or the Flash would want to go get drunk, so they make him some super concentrated alcohol so he can get drunk, right? What that really is doing is programming your mind to want to do the same and saying, hey, this person who I almost consider an idol, this superhero, is even eating this stuff. That must mean that I can be super too if I eat this stuff. I can be part of this big group, and he's a strong protector. I can have the strong protector in my team if I eat that garbage, right? That's what your mind is thinking when it's watching these TV shows. So start to be consciously aware, be more consciously aware. And it's kind of fun actually to pick this out of TV shows. And honestly, you're not going to be able to pick everything out, right? That's why there's called subliminal messages, because your subconscious mind is just picking up on that 11 million piece of information per second, while you're consciously only picking up on 40 pieces of information per second. So a lot of stuff slips past us that we don't really realize. Even me, like there's no way that I'm able to pick up on all information that's similarly in like the TV shows and movies. So honestly, that's why I don't watch a lot of TV shows or movies anymore. Now that I know about it, I don't want to get programmed that way. I started cutting out a lot of songs that I don't like. I started kind of distancing myself from certain people, right? I started adding new people in my life and essentially reprogramming my mind towards the things that I want. There's other ways to do it. Behind me on my whiteboard is another way to do it. Start adding messages around your house. I am enough. Every time you walk by that, even if you're not reading it, consciously looking at it, your mind's picking it up. That's another program. That's another reminder, another opening to a new path, right? I have these kinds of messages all over my house. I have what I call word arts. So the pictures of people from the back, so you can kind of imagine it's you. And then there's different affirmations. So start to reprogram your mind as much as possible. And one last little tip I can give for you guys is you can start to create affirmations. Essentially what they are is just, I am statements in the present tense. I am healthy. I am lovable. I enjoy my life. And you can make them a little more descriptive and, personalized to yourself. But those statements, avoid the negatives and focus on the present tense as if it's happening right now. You do that, create a recording of yourself with these affirmations, and then you play this when you are driving in the car, you play this when you're going to sleep, and you play this when you're waking up. You can play it at other times as well, but these are the main times that are going to be very, very helpful to you. And specifically when you're going to bed and you're waking up, because your brain is actually changing brainwave states. So it's changing and it's moving into a theta state and passes through into a theta state until you go into like a deep delta sleep, right? So it's really important that we use that time, the hypnosis state, the theta state, which is essentially it's the same state as you go into when you're in a hypnosis state, which is just relaxed or confused or kind of like dazed out state. You go into that state and you can actually reprogram your mind with your own affirmations. So I recommend start doing these things. If you guys have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you guys want to learn more, make sure you guys shoot me a follow. My name is Tanner the Mind Hacker, and I'm a gamer who loves sharing information about our mind so we can take back control of our lives. And I do help gamers defeat their depression, address their addictions, and create better life for themselves. So if you're interested in that, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Shoot me a follow. Give me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys thought about this. If you guys knew this already, if you didn't. If you guys have any other ideas that I didn't talk about, obviously I didn't talk about everything. It'd be way too long of a video. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to talk about and your input on this. And shoot it a like as well. And I hope you all have a good rest of your day.